Hey, Ignite, it's David Rice. I'm back here again with Jonathan Miller, executive coach from Fortune Management. Jonathan, how are you?
Good morning, man. Another early rise. It's great.
I'm telling you, this is the one. When it comes to watching professional sports, West Coast has the gig because you're
Oh,
not until 1 in the morning.
I've got you beat. I've got
Yeah,
you beat. Yeah, big time.
yeah. But on
Big
these,
time.
I guess I'm winning a little bit. So
Yeah, for sure.
appreciate the early rise on your part. Hey, listen, great topic that kind of flowed from the last session, the pizza by the slice session, and that is we're just going to call this one out. As a young dentist, when you come in as an associate or an employee and you're trying to understand the perspective of the seasoned dentist who brings you in, we really need to understand their mindset. And the ultimate question is that seasoned dentist looking at you, young dentist, as a future partner or today's peon? You ever see that out there, Jonathan?
Oh my gosh, I see it all the time. It's funny because I hope that, the Ignite crew is watching this, but I know the Ignite crew tends to scale on the lower side of the age range. I would love for the uh, senior Ignite crew to watch this, if you will,
Yeah.
because it is absolutely so. We talked for a second last time about perception is reality. And I will tell you that, going into it, let's talk about it from the standpoint of the Ignite crew, because you and I don't want them to be seen as a peon. We want them to absolutely be seen as a partner. I think it is the perception of the owning doctor or the older doctor, usually in most cases, on how they see that young person coming in. And so where I hear about the complaints from the older doctors, right, and I also hear the complaints from the younger doctors, and they're both the same and obviously two different voices. So owner doctors, of course, these days, it's a millennial thing. They don't have respect and appreciation. And, them back in my day, 2 miles to school and all that stuff. And the younger doctor is, they don't understand. Things are different and things are changing. And I was using CAD CAM in dental school for crying out loud. And this guy doesn't even know what the heck a CAD CAM is. And so therefore I'm more advanced or whatever the case may be. That perception of young doctor coming in, I want to talk about that for a second. And that is, go in there being curious. Go in there asking a lot of questions. Go in there with, hey, let's get this right from day one. And I'm here to learn from you. I'm here to take notes. I'm here to expand. Not every single, and you know this, David, but not every single practice you go into is going to be the last stop on your dental career. In fact, most of them won't be. I'm not talking about corporate dentistry, of course. I'm talking, let's say you come out of school, walk right into private practice as an associate, one doctor owner, everything seems really, really great. You're going to know the difference between a good deal and a bad deal. And so that's where the older doctor looks at you as, we talked about this being a partner, being a peon, and you're going to know the difference. And of course, the older doctor takes that as lack of respect, lack of appreciation, look what I've built, etc. I think if you approach the older doctor with a curiosity, with a, I want to understand your business, I want to understand how you got to this point, let's talk about what the future looks like, all that stuff. If in those conversations you're not hearing things that meet up with your values, why you're doing this in the first place, those kinds of things, then it's not going to be a good fit for you. And I am much more inclined, and I'm trying to teach this to older doctors all day long, but the owner doctor segment is get to a point where you know where you stand with the associate. If the associate has ambitions to go out and start up as quickly as possible, that's okay. Just be upfront with them, be honest with them, say, hey, look, I want to teach you a lot of cool stuff. You're going to make some good money. And when it's time for you to leave, all I ask is that you give me a X amount of window heads up so you don't get me high and dry. And I'll wish you all the best. I'll write you a letter of recommendation if you need it for the banks or the lenders. I'll even point you in the right direction of some maybe good equipment people or contractors, et cetera. And wish you all the best. But most owner doctors don't see it that way. They see it as, I have this one little slice of pie. I have to protect it at all costs. And so therefore I'm going to do everything possible to position myself in a spot where I don't get burned or I don't get taken advantage of or all those things.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps answer it, but I really, really think it's important that the difference between a partner and a peon is how you approach it. And your approach is going to set up that perception, and then it's a windfall from there.
I like that a lot. And it really, we've talked about in the past, and I think maybe the main takeaway in addition to how you approach as a young dentist when you walk in the door, your mindset, your curiosity, like you mentioned, is defining the shared vision before you
Love
walk
that.
the door. And I know as a young dentist, I remember me, and obviously working with a lot of young dentists today, I get, like, you're in a hurry, you want to lock down a practice, you want to secure a paycheck, you want to hit the ground running. So if you can define your vision in an interview or interviews as you meet these older dentists, that's ideal. And like you said, just be open, be honest, be as clear as you can be in the moment, because things are going to change. And if you can't, at least sit down at those times with the older dentist and say, hey, in the first 3 months I'm here, can we block out time so we can share that vision? Because you're spot on. That older dentist has a mindset. You either are partner material or you're not. And as the young dentist coming in, you really need to know where you stand. And it can work both ways, but you have to know. So what advice would you give a young dentist who's, I don't know, interviewing dental practice out there? What are the maybe like couple key points, key questions that could help them understand my mindset as an older dentist?
Well, I think you got to start with what does this thing look like in the future? And we don't have to go all the way to the end, but we do have we do say a lot at Fortune, begin with the end in mind. Now, when you position this question, I think you do talk more about what does the future look like and how do you see me fitting in, or why did you decide now is a good time to bring on an associate? And that should get them to that future question. If you position it in, hey, let's begin with the end in mind, they're immediately thinking, oh, you want to buy this thing today? Easy there, chief, it's going to take a second. So, I think if you approach it vision based, but kind of saying, hey, how does this look for you going forward? Let's flash forward 5 years. How do you see me fitting in? Why did you decide now is the best time in your career to bring on an associate? That kind of stuff is a great place to start. I think that, then moving into a little bit more of the technical, I mean, you shared the story about when you brought in your associate and how much you invested in the clinical skill set. So I would ask that. What kind of clinical skills do you think I need to have dialed in by year 1, year 2, year 3? And then do you have CE courses that you recommend today to get that stuff done? And would you be willing to do some of that stuff together, or do I just go on my own, or what does that look like? I would even ask, hey, what kind of investments do you make in your team? We're really, really big on culture. And we truly believe that you can't possibly grow a practice without growing the team that's supporting you in that practice. Yeah. And so, if you have an owner doctor saying, well, look, they get plenty of money, don't you worry about that, and then they should be happy about it, that is a big, big red flag. Now, I'm not saying that we all have bills to pay, and I know coming out of school, you got a lot of student loan debt, and I understand the urgency around the decision. But looking for some place where you want to be long-term is really what I think this conversation is about. And that means you need to find people that line up with your principles or your vision or your why behind the reason why you're in dentistry in the first place. And it can be for a number of, if you're in dentistry to make a lot of money, well, that's okay. I'm not going to judge you for it, but you better make sure the owner doctor is in the same boat and not out to change the world and do a lot of free dentistry. And if you're out to change the world and do a lot of free dentistry, then you better make sure that the other doctor has the same vision as well, and not, I need to grind down patients and make the most money, and everybody walking in the door has a $2,000 or $3,000 treatment plan waiting for them. They just don't know it yet. Right. Okay. And so I think that I would ask the question about how they do treatment. I would say, hey, when you guys are approaching patients with care, are you guys really comprehensive in your approach and you're presenting everything they need, or do you have a systematic approach and going down a path? Now, you're going to get some different answers there, right? You're going to get, oh, my treatment coordinator handles everything, I don't touch that stuff, or I handle everything and I do it all. But you're going to know right away as a young doctor, well, then, wow, that's going to be expected of me to do all the treatment planning and all the coordination and all that stuff, and or it's going to be expected of someone else, but does that someone else also line up with what I want? Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack there. I just think that you got to start with, what is that doctor looking for? And are they describing you and where you think you're heading down in your career? And if they're not describing you, then you have to make a real judgment call on, do I take it because it's good money and good pay right now? Or do I take it because it's a future thing, or do I not take it at all?
Yeah, great point. And you alluded to it earlier, for many young dentists, the practice you go to first, second, or maybe even third, it may not be where you live for the next 25, 30 years. It may just be this way station for you, and that's okay. But to have that clarity on the front end of, do I see myself as a partner in this practice, or do I see myself as somebody who's going to come here, get some great clinical experience, maybe get some great culture experience on how to work with the team, build a team, learn some business skills, and then I'm going to move on because I want to develop my own vision, whatever that may be. And I know as a young dentist, I was apprehensive to be totally transparent. I was afraid. What if I say the wrong thing and that older dentist says, you know what, Dave, not for you, pass. But I can tell you, as a practice owner, and hindsight being 2020, I always appreciate people who just shoot me straight, and we can always work something out. To your point, the greatest associateship I left purely because of bad timing in life and vision for the future was one where the older dentist and I sat down and said, hey, you know what? I know I'm not going to be here forever. And he looked at me and said, I know you're not going to be here forever. And that was good for both of us. And we just agreed that when it was time for me to leave, I would give him 2 full months before I walked out the door so we could take great care of his patients. And we also agreed, young dentists, you guys have heard of that restrictive covenant piece where, I can't take all of his or her patients with me, or I can't take team members with me. We agreed that I would be respectful of that. And in return, what he did for me is every patient who called and they said, hey, where'd that Dr. Rice go? We really liked him a lot. He and his team happily said, you know what? He's 20 minutes in that direction. He's a great dentist. Here's his phone number. And it was just because we were super
impressive
with one another. And I think as a young dentist, even though you can be afraid of that, good people will always want to see you succeed in life, whether it's with them inside their 4 walls or down the street or in another state or someplace else. I don't know what your experience is.
Definitely. I think that's totally true and great advice.
Yeah, cool. So I think that's really the key message we wanted to get out to everybody today is understand as a young dentist your perspective, understand the perspective of the seasoned dentist. Some of these guys and gals are looking you as a future partner. Some are looking at you as a peon. You got to figure out who you are, what you're okay with. And Jonathan, you had some great questions to pitch out there that were really soft, but really door openers that can help our tribe get where they want to go. So any last words?
No, man, I think that's great. It's a great way to end it.
Awesome. All right, gang, till next time. We'll see you next week. Cheers.